Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. Today we're going to be looking over The Sword of Solomon Kane, a 1985 comic from Marvel Comics. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own work. This is Random Access. It's usually a full-size, full-color comic book. This storyline, though, is with Queller, and it's been black and white for the last story, so I've been keeping it that way. But it's an anthology that I produce every month with me and a bunch of other people, usually Paul Corp, John, Jeremy Duncan, a whole bunch of other people. So it's becoming more and more anthology-like and less just me, and I love that. So you can check these out at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin, or you can go to my Instagram, AlexTurbin04401 at Instagram, or AlexTurbin04401 at Yahoo, which was my email. And they're only $3 a month for Patreon, or if you message me, they are pretty cheap. Look, like the price tag here is only $1.25. So let's get on to Solomon Kane. So Solomon Kane is a creation by none other than Robert E. Howard, who also created Conan and Kull the Conqueror and a bunch of other things. And this little mini series came out in 1985, pretty much when I first started getting into comic books. When I first started getting into comics, I was primarily reading Savage Sword of Conan, and I read that for like a year, half a year, something like that, before I started getting antsy for, I love the Savage Swords, but I stopped reading Savage Sword and just went into the regular color comics from Marvel and DC. I don't know why. I don't know whether I think I just outgrew them or I don't know. But I'm getting all of the Savage Swords that I can now. That's for sure. Because it was a fantastic magazine, and I wish I had just kept reading it all along. But anyway, Solomon Kane caught my eye because it is a Robert E. Howard property. I don't think I knew that at the time. I think it took me a little while. But this is, it was just a 6-issue limited series, and some of the stories are from Robert E. Howard stories, and some of them are new. And I believe this is a brand new one by Ralph Macchio, Brett Blevins, Christine Scheel is the colorist, Joe Rosen is the letterer, Carl Potts is the editor, and Jim Shooter is the editor-in-chief. So Brett Blevins did the pencils and the inking, which is pretty cool. I am not really a huge Brett Blevins fan. He did a few X-Men issues, and he's just, I don't know what it is about him. I don't hate his art, but I certainly don't love it either. But it's a Marvel comic, so I'm not gonna talk about the writing or the art or anything. If something comes up that I really like, I might mention that. But other than that, I mean, the writing and art it's a Marvel comic book. It's very professional. So we'll just check on the story and see what you guys think about Solomon Kane. And anybody that hasn't seen the Solomon Kane movie, it's fantastic. It's awesome. I think I heard that they're working on another one. I don't know if it was with the same actor, but it really should have been. They should have made several movies in that series because that was a fantastic movie. And I really like the actor too. So anyway, let's get into the book. So it's this kid trudging through the snow, and Solomon Kane is a Puritan in the 1400s, 1300s, 1500s, something like that. And he just travels the world looking for adventure. And he's gone to Africa, and he's not delved into, but he's been part of witchcraft and not really part of it. Like he's fighting against it. He has these encounters with witchcraft and zombies and warlocks and witch doctors and all of this kind of stuff. So he knows a lot about it. He's a devoutly religious person, and all of these stories have a super religious connotation. And I don't know if Robert E. Howard was religious or not. I kind of feel like he may not have been, but I am myself an atheist, and but I love these stories. I love a lot of stories that have religious undertones or religious pinings or whatever. And it's just a lot of fun stuff. I mean, the angels and preacher, or the angels and godliness and devilry and Sandman, and there's just a lot of cool stuff that have to do with God and all of that stuff. I mean, I've done a lot of things where, like Queller at some point fights early on, I did this actually. He fought a demon, and it was actually an angel that had turned into a demon, and like a fallen angel, and he goes through all of these different things. And that's in Queller #1 actually. No, no, it's not. I haven't released it as Queller, Queller yet. It's in random access actually. Um, so I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that has to do with the church and religion and God and stuff. Because even if I don't believe it, and you know, don't really encourage it, because there's so much stuff that. But anyway, I'm not even going to get into that. But even if I don't believe in it, the stories are cool. There's really cool stories in the Bible. Heck, I every year for Easter I watch the Ten Commandments, mostly because I really love Charlton Heston and I really love that movie. But also just the whole nostalgia of it, I guess, or whatever. But it's so religion definitely it has its place, and if you're a believer, then all the more power to you. But it's definitely something that we can discuss, because I'm always looking to discuss religion and politics and science and all that stuff, even if it's not in my videos. So anyway, let's get into this. So there's this kid trudging through the snow in Germany. I don't think it says that in the beginning. And there's this werewolf crouching over him in some rocky I don't know, overlook or something at the boy. He attacks, or no, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's a stranger who is obviously Solomon Kane. He hears a screaming. The screaming is the boy who's being attacked by the werewolf, obviously. And Solomon Kane jumps on the werewolf and attacks him with his sword. And there's some really great fight scenes, some really great action scenes where it's in silhouette, really, which I really love. And even though I don't really love Brett Blevins, there's a lot of things that I do like about him. And there's, I don't know, looking at this, I might be changing my mind about him on a lot of things. I think it was because I saw him, the first time I saw him or the first time I remember seeing him, even though I had actually purchased this probably way before, was in the X-Men when he took over for a guest shot at the X-Men. But I really like this face. I really like this face here. I really like the energy and the placement of the bodies and stuff, and the action scenes. And I love his cloak just kind of flowing around. And I love this whole pose where he's standing over the werewolf's body, which, as I kind of glossed over, he cuts the head off of the werewolf, and he looks back. He talks to the boy, and he looks back again, and the werewolf is now a man, and he's just kind of talking about how it was a werewolf, and he knows stuff about werewolves. He grabs this pendant, and he bury him? Yeah, he buries the werewolf, or the person's headless body. I wonder if he attached the head back to the body, if he would come back to life. But anyway, we see this dark figure. We think it's Solomon Kane. He's entering a tavern that's in the city, in the town. And as he enters, all of the local people, they kind of scoff at him. And one of the big burly guys comes over and says, "We don't want you here." And he kind of just is going to rough him up, and he is going to punch him. But alas, a hand grabs the big burly's arm, and he punches him. And this is Solomon Kane. The other guy is Solomon Kane's friend, who was a Puritan with him growing up. And as we see, they're having some ale and some food at the dinner table, and they reconnect. I think recoint is a word. They're how they were children together, or how they were young together, and how they fought. The Puritans, I guess, were they were let's see, oppressed. That's what it is. Do you remember how in our youth, when we spoke out against the oppression? So I'm not entirely sure the ins and outs of the Puritan religion, or any really of this whole Catholics versus Protestants versus, I have no clue as to who's who and why they hate each other and all of this stuff. I don't understand it. But there was oppression. The Puritans were like a Protestant, I guess, some kind of offshoot of Christianity. And so they were attacked by regular people, and they went through some battles and stuff. But Solomon stayed with his friend who is, his name was Nathaniel Cable. Nathaniel Cable. Isn't that Cable is Nathaniel from the X-Men and New Mutants and X-Force. I wonder if they stole that. I wonder if they took that from this comic book. But anyway, he talks about how they were best friends, Nathaniel and Solomon, and he was good friends with, he took care of his son, and he was friends with his wife, and then he says that they were in a battle, and there was like a massacre or whatever, and Nathaniel was almost dead, and how Solomon must have thought that he was dead, and he wandered off and he lived his life. This was 10 years ago, and but he was found by a gypsy woman, and she used all of her herbs and remedies and potions and stuff to heal him. And he went back to his home in England, because this is in Germany where they had gone off to find adventure, I guess. And he finds his wife, who's really deathly ill, and he can't do anything about it. He prays, but she still doesn't get any better. He goes back to Germany trying to find Marta, who is the gypsy woman, so that she can save his wife. And I guess he brings Marta back to, I don't know whether he must bring his wife with him to find Marta, and he does find her, but then she can't save the woman, his wife, because she's just too far gone from whatever disease or plague or whatever it is. And so he curses God. He casts out God from his heart, and he marries Marta, and he lives in Germany. He just decides to stay in Germany because there's no place for him in England anymore. And he buries her off on the side of the road because the villagers don't want an English person or Puritan body to be buried in their graveyard or whatever. So Nathaniel asks Solomon if he would like to stay with them for a little while and take up their hearth and home and once again rekindle the friendship that he had with his son and all of that stuff. They go back to Nathaniel's house, and there's this woman who's leaving, who is a patient of Marta's, who she used some medicinal remedies to make her better or whatever. And the woman says, "And thank you, my dear, I am completely healed. You have done with your spells and potions what a physician in Alberbach could do. I mustn't tarry. If my husband knew I'd come to the witch woman for healing, he would kill me. Goodbye." So that's really kind of what you're dealing with, is that a husband would actually kill his wife for dealing with this. There's a lot of stuff like that if you guys have seen Outlander, it's a fantastic show, but there's a lot of stuff like this where Claire almost gets burned for being a witch. But Nathaniel introduces Solomon to the wife, and he talks about a little bit about what happened in Africa. But she says, Solomon, welcome. Nathaniel has said so many great things about you, and he really admires you. This is when Solomon shows her the medallion that he took off of the werewolf's head, and she thinks it's very beautiful. The markings are beautiful, whatever. And he actually offers to give it to her because she thinks it's beautiful, and he thinks it's just like a satanic kind of thing that he wants nothing to do with, that it's completely evil. Excuse me. The boy comes in that Solomon saved earlier, and it actually ends up being Nathaniel's son, who he had been friends with when he was younger. And they just have this kind of little dialogue as to why he ran away after the slaying of the wolf, and he just kind of says that he was kind of scared. And then they spend the evening talking about Solomon's times in Africa and a whole, whatever you would do around the fireplace, eating and drinking before you go to bed. This is when we see Marta. She sees both of the medallions and she compares them. She's got one and she sees that's the other one. And she says something about let it not be true, let it not be true. The boy who was actually bitten by the werewolf earlier, but I guess we hadn't seen it. Had we seen that? No, he doesn't actually bite him in any of the panels, but the werewolf had bit him. So he actually is writhing in pain and stuff, but he hasn't transformed into the werewolf yet, because it's not a full moon, apparently. The next day, the boy and Solomon Kane are doing chores, and they're hunting for dinner, and the boy is just so enamored with Solomon Kane because he's so strong. He says that his father once said that Solomon Kane defeated the strongest man in England, and Solomon Kane says, "Don't be silly. I am the strongest man in England." So they have this kind of, I don't know if he's joking about that or he's just like that much of a badass or whatever. And they're building a root cellar that Nathaniel hadn't been able to get to, and Solomon just says things like, he's very busy with the rest of the farm. I'm sure he would have gotten to it eventually. So he's propping up Nathaniel, the boy's father, and not trying to take any of the credit that he probably deserves. So that night, the boy turns into the werewolf, runs in right here, turns into the werewolf, jumps out of his window, goes into the town, kills one of the women walking along in the town. Which this is a fantastic page. I love the angle of the werewolf running towards the town, and I love this woman. She's got their pose and her posture, and just her looking one way, looking the other. You can tell that even though it's just one panel, she's looking one way, looking another. There's a growling. She's scared. She's hesitant. But you don't see that with the mouth because her mouth is covered up by a scarf. So this is a really fantastic page, and this is one of the reasons that I'm thinking maybe I should rethink this whole disliking Brett Blevins thing, because I really love this whole page, especially the werewolf attacks her, and then you see this roar, this very cinematic thing where the werewolf kind of closes in on the camera or on the panel or whatever. He keeps going and kills the night watchman and kills a drunkard. It's got some really cool close-ups and just a lot of movement. I think maybe the time that I didn't like Brett Blevins, he didn't do his own inks. Possibly that could have been one of the things. But I'm really digging this. And the werewolf goes home, goes back to his hovel, crawls back into bed, and turns back into a person. Solomon Kane the next morning finds the wolf tracks. They've heard what happened in the city, in the town, and he realizes that it's the boy. There's blood all around him. There's dirt. There's wolf tracks. He's got all of these signs that he's a werewolf, so he figures it out. Nathaniel comes racing. He must have been gone to the town and figuring everything out. He comes racing back on his horse, and Solomon tells him what's going on, that the boy is actually a werewolf. Nathaniel is just stricken by not so much angry. He's just taken aback and scared and sad and all of these other emotions. And Solomon is saying, what we have to do. We have to. We're gonna have to fix this. We're gonna have to finish this. But Nathaniel Solomon says, "I've got to go into town. I've got to get a few things." And Nathaniel says, or the boy says, "I murdered people. And Solomon says, "No, that's not you. It was the beast. I'm going to go into town. You guys just hang out here. I'll be here before dark and before the boy can turn into a werewolf." Solomon comes back. He finds the woman, the gypsy woman, doing her spells, using her magic, using the herbs as best she can. Solomon knows that the werewolf is way too much powerful for her, too much energy, too much magic. She won't be able to contain it. So he lets them do this. He knows that that it's not going to be successful. So he goes out into the woods and he prepares for what's about to happen. He's lining the trees with silver wire. He's adding silver bullets to his gun because, like I said, he's got some knowledge of the werewolf and how to take care of it. It comes nighttime. Solomon is just waiting there, waiting for the werewolf to appear, and he does. And they have this great fight. It's really blurry. There's really a lot of action. I really kind of like this, even though there's not a lot of variance in sizes in the panels and stuff. The different shapes and the different ways that each character is moving around. I really enjoy that. So that's really cool. The werewolf does get the better of Solomon. Solomon drops the sword, but Nathaniel is there, and Solomon is trying to get Nathaniel to do the right thing and to kill him, but it's his son, so he's having such a hard time. But he does stab him in the heart with Solomon's silver blade, and he just cries out, and he's just so stricken with grief that he's just so out there. Before this had happened, Marta, where was Marta? Marta comes by and she's trying to help Solomon, but the werewolf actually slashes her in the throat or whatever and kills her. So Nathaniel has lost his son, he's lost his new wife, and but for some reason, they say through the strength of believing in God, that's what gave him the strength to strike down his son. And so Nathaniel starts believing in God again, becomes a Puritan again, and I guess he's going to wander the world like Solomon Kane does, and just try to do the best things that he can do with his God and stuff. Nathaniel gives Solomon the medallion, and he tells Solomon that the medallions were actually Marta's and her brother's, and that her brother was a werewolf, and that's the one that he had originally struck down before or after he had bitten the son. And they were supposed to ward off evil spirits, or they were supposed to keep the werewolf at bay or something like that. So Solomon, he takes it graciously, and but then later on he throws it aside. And so Nathaniel just kind of goes his own way, and Solomon just goes his own way, and that's pretty much basically the end. So it was a fun read. I haven't read this in a while. I have read it since reading it originally in 1985 when I first got it. And it's just one of those cool sword and sorcery things that even though this is, real historic stuff, and, in our world, it's still sword and sorcery. There's still, magic and swords and stuff like that. So I consider it Solomon Kane sword and sorcery, because it's the sword of Solomon Kane. It's not the gun of Solomon Kane. So anyway, I think it's sword and sorcery. Let me know what you guys think. The cover, I'm not really loving. It's by Kevin Nolan, and I really love Kevin Nolan's art. He's really fantastic. I'm just really not really into this cover so much. I don't know really why. I'm not loving it. Maybe it's that the logo is too big and that it doesn't give the illustration enough space to breathe. But I don't know. I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys think. So anyway, it was a fun read. I'm not going to give it too high a score. I'm going to give it a 7.5. It's hard to say. I'm going to give it a 7.5. Marvel score. As you know, I score Marvel and DC much harder than indies. If this was an indie comic, I probably would have given it a 8.5, maybe something like that. But since it's a Marvel comic, it's pretty standard fare. There's nothing really unusual about it. The art is pretty good. The writing is pretty good, but there's nothing that really tugs at my heart. Nothing that really I think is that game changer going on. I do love it. If there was a Solomon Kane, actually I believe there is a Solomon Kane that I'm going to go out there and try to find, modern Solomon Kane that just came out last year or this year or something. Let me know if you guys know that. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to give it a 7.5. I could give it more if it was indie, but it's not. So, if you're new to the channel, this is the kind of stuff that I go over. I usually go over indie comics from the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. But really, anything that's artistic or sword and sorcery, I'm a sucker for sword and sorcery. So I'm going to be really going through everything that I have that's sword and sorcery. And if I buy new stuff, I'm going to go over that too. So if you're into sword and sorcery, indie comics or anything really unusual or artistic or anything, this is the place to be. So please consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell, giving me a thumbs up, and more importantly than that, I love talking to you guys about comic books. So leave a comment in the comment section if you love Solomon Kane, if you hate Solomon Kane, if you love Robert E. Howard, if you don't love Robert E. Howard. I would just love to hear from you guys. But this is one of my memories from first collecting comics, so it has a special spot in my heart. As you can see, it's a little ragged after being read for so many years and stuff. There's like a circular glass stain on here, so it's been well read, and I'm never going to sell it or give it away or anything. So it's something special to me, part of my nostalgia of first reading comics, and I've really enjoyed it. So I enjoy it for that much, and my reviewing is not reflective of that nostalgia, shall we say. But anyway, thanks for watching. The weekend's coming up. We're gonna have a show with Joe and the comic guys from East Coast, West Coast, and we're going to be looking at Joe Madriera and Arthur Adams. So that will be a fun show. So check that out tomorrow, sometime around 12:30, 1 o'clock Eastern time. I'm not entirely sure when that is, Pacific time, Joe time, but sometime in the late afternoons anyway. So thanks for watching, and let me know what you guys think about all of this sword and sorcery and Solomon Kane, and do you consider it a sword and sorcery or not? Let me know. But anyway, again, thanks for watching, and as always, keep on creating.